Okay, today people, we're going to go from this
to this. Okay, so this is the unit I purchased off AliExpress. It was from a vendor I previously bought a unit from for my Audi TT. You can check out the video that I've done on that. I was quite happy with that. So when looking for another unit, I went to the same seller and looked at what they had for a Ford. They had lots of different options available. I'll have the link in the description below so you can have a look at the different options. So I went for the TS10 8-core unit, so I wanted it fast and nippy. This one comes with Android 10, DSP, Android Auto and CarPlay inbuilt, which is the main function I wanted to use anyway. It also came with about 64 gigs of memory, which is way more than enough that I would ever use it for. 2 USB ports which could be externally added, which you can externally add anywhere in the car. It had obviously GPS. I bought an extra DAB module which I fitted an external aerial for on this car in order to do that, and it also has a lot more capabilities that you can use.
Okay, let's get started. So I thought I'd lay all the cables out for you to show you which goes where, and I've labeled everything. I thought it might be easier this way. As you can see, this is the housing for the unit to go on the Ford Fiesta. At the moment, I've unscrewed it. So there's some 4 screws, 1, 2, and on the back 3 and 4 that you can get to. Unscrew the unit, and I've just taken it out here so just to make it easier for you to understand. Now, the unit I purchased is the TS100. And I think this is the 4GB version I've bought with maybe 32 or 64 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go through the cables from the head unit one by one. So first one is antenna adapter. So it does use the old school antenna, which does go to a Farquhar connector that can that can go into the existing area that will come with the Ford. And if you're using that. Now on my install, I've decided for my friend, he wants DAB, so I put a new DAB roof mounted aerial. So I won't be using that because the new aerial comes with this connector already, so I'll put that to the side. The next here is the GPS antenna. This is the GPS model antenna. So this needs to go under the dash somewhere. It's got a sticky pad. You can stick it upside down or something in the front. If you have heated glass at the front, please make sure you put it in a corner where there is no heating elements, because the heating elements will impair the signal for this. So you have to put your hands inside the dash somewhere once you've taken out the unit and we're installing this, and put that there. Again, I won't be using this because my roof mounted aerial also has a GPS antenna. Okay. The next antenna that we need is the 4G one. Now this unit comes with 4G. So this 4G antenna goes in there and then sticks to the windscreen on the side, and that will give you 4G. So if you're going to plan to put a SIM card in here at some point, then the 4G antenna will go here. Okay, now starting with the cables going across this way. Okay, now first of all, I think it's the first one is your reverse cam. Okay, so this is for if your unit, or if you're installing a reverse cam at the same time aftermarket, this is what you'll be using, and you'll be familiar with the connector on there, the RCA on the side. If you have already a factory built one, I do believe they support the factory built one, so you possibly won't need this, or you will need to connect this to the wiring harness output later, right? So this is, I think this is camera, yeah. So you would need to connect it to this on the harness, and I'll go through the main wiring harness loom from the Ford Fiesta to this. So that will need to be connected up. If you have a camera system that is already with the car at all. Okay, so I'm going to first put this one in. That will be my first connector. And if you notice, these connectors will only go one way, and they will only allow a certain connection in, so it's very difficult to get it wrong. Okay, so that's the first one in. Okay, next, if we move across this way, it's the USBs. Now it comes with 2 USBs. I will be using one for a DAB DAB unit, and that's the DAB antenna that I put on the roof, along with the FM and a GPS. I've already done that, and so I will be putting one will be inside. The other USB I will be using will be for I've bought an extension wire for that in order to have it for a USB thumb drive with some music on it, so you can play external music to it. Okay, so those are the next two that need to go in. So the connectors, again, you can't get it wrong. Goes in, next one, clicks in there, and then the follow on is a little bit thinner connection, and that also goes in there. Okay, so we're down to, we've got those ones in now. Okay, the next one going across, or if we actually go down, down one here, it's going to be your main outputs from the stereo. Okay, so this one I've labeled the main wires that I'll be using on, well, useful ones anyway, because some of them aren't useful. The main one was the mic, and that comes obviously with your mic for your Bluetooth, and that you can position in, which is this. And you have a bunch of cables here. I believe these are all amp related cables. So if you're fitting an aftermarket amp and speakers, these are your sub outs, for example, your front out and front left out, rear left and rear rear right out. And you also have your antenna power feed here as well. Yeah, so your activation feed for the amp. Okay, so I've just put them together for a little bit of understanding. The other item on here is your SIM card for a slot for your 4G, if you're going to be using the 4G. If you're not, that's fine. You can just put it in somewhere accessible. So if you need to, you could just pop this off and slide out the back in order to put that in. Okay, cool. So that one is the main one that goes into here. Okay, be careful with the pins. Okay, I'm just going to lightly rest that on top. Okay, so I think they're the main ones now that you need to that we dealt with here on there. Now there's one more main one here, the last one. Now this is basically the connection from the stereo from your existing Ford sync system, and it kind of translates that via a CAN bus and so forth into the stereo, so it can work with the Ford car itself. Okay, so now there are two options depending on your stereo. Now I have confirmed originally from the face of the of my dash what it looks like with the manufacturer, and they said yes, it does support, but I don't know which one it's going to be. Is it going to be A or B? Okay, now all the cables related to that are over here, and once we disassemble the stereo, I will be able to have a better understanding of that. But let's go have a quick look at these ones so far. So this big bundle of cables, this is the 2-car. So basically I'm going to put this, whatever is coming out the current sync stereo will go into here. Okay, that's one of them. This is potentially another one, 2-car, right? So this is the other sync stereo connection will go into here. You can see they're all female jacks. And there's possibly a third one that you will need to use if you have this second type of stereo here. Okay, point B. Okay, and that's the third type. Now, the back of this end here will go into connect into there. And out of this, and what else you need to add on to this is your CAN bus decoder. Now, as you can see, the CAN bus decoder has a connection straight onto the loom here. And what the CAN bus decoder does is decode your steering wheel controls and any other functionality it can get from the car CAN system, and it will decode it into the stereo. Okay, so I believe when you put it into reverse, it should then automatically understand in your car. It'll automatically then switch to your video feed for the reverse. So you don't have, in this case, need to run a separate brake wire line to the brake cable here on here, right? There's a brake one here, one of these ones here, which is being keyed, capped off. Okay, if that's not working for you, you have the alternative of using the manual one here. It also has a bunch of key options for aftermarket steering wheel controls if you did want to do that, but you don't need to do that, to be honest. Once it's done there, your steering wheel control should work fine with this. Okay, so that one plugs into the back there. Okay, now next one is there's a little speaker here, and I believe this is for if you have a rear parking sensors and things like that come through the normal stereo system. This would be now used as the speaker for those beeps and CAN connection sounds that will come out from any sensors. I don't have a CAN reverse sensor system, so this may not be useful to me, but I've plugged it in for the video's sake as well, and you can see that's connected to the brown pair there. Okay, all right. Now finally, if you do need this third cable, that will be to car as well on this side, this section, I believe this goes into the other side of the CAN bus. The CAN bus has two connections on both sides, and this goes into here. Okay, now if you think about it, you've got then three inputs coming in from the Ford car system, and this will be all going into one input here, into this item, into this connector here. All right, so I hope that makes sense. So once we do that, once I put it in on, I'll give it a test, and if there's any modifications to be made afterwards, I'll tell you if there's any changes. But otherwise, that's the unit itself. As you can see, it's a pretty large unit. Now I've plugged the cables in, it's not going to probably go in, but it sits back in there, and everything should work fine, hopefully. All right, so let me get back to you once I've disassembled the dash, or gone through a little video of how to disassemble the dash and do that. Now, one thing to note is, on the note is, your DVD player or your CD player will no longer work after this, because you're really disconnecting the cables from the CD player, which is kind of the main brain of the Ford Sync system, and you're then plugging that into the new stereo here. Okay, so you won't be using that, but that's obviously on the manufacturer's website on the selling page as well. Later on, once I've done the install, I'll go through a review, quick summary of the features that are enabled. Like I said, my main reasons for buying this unit is DAB and CarPlay, and I will give you some options on the different models that I would choose from their range. There's quite a few different models available. Okay then, see you soon. All right guys, I'm back. Now I just want to show you how to quickly take out the stereo in this car. I've already done it once, so I just quickly wanted to show you. So you need your trim tool. Definitely get a trim tool. Do not use a screwdriver, others it will smash up your plastics. And you want to lever from the side here and work your way around. Now the one I found very difficult at the back was stubborn, was here, and here you had to give it a bit of tug. So keep persevering and that will come off. Okay, so that's your trim tool. There's 1, 2, 3 tree clips there, and there's 2 at the front. So there's the tree clips across there. Okay, the next thing you need to do is remove the 2 screwdriver, T20s. So I've got a T20 screwdriver here, T20s, and I remove the 2 T20s from here and here. Okay, next you have 2 bolts, 7-meter bolts that go here and here. You remove those. I use the impact driver, but if you've got something else, if you've just got a normal socket set, you should be able to get those, and those go out there. Okay, so once you've done that, those are out. So this is ready to come out. Now these are bit sticky and tough. So the first thing you need to do is remove this panel here. Okay, so this is the passenger airbag one. Okay, now be very gentle with this because it's got a very flimsy connector here and a flimsy connector here and flimsy hinges. So I would just give it a lever it and then pop it out here, and when it gets to here, pull it out and down. Okay, now you're in a good place where you can now do the tug. First thing to do is under here, give it a good sharp pull, give it a tug here, and that should loosen the whole thing off. Okay, once that's off, I'm just going to move that to the other side. You've got the connector on there. Okay, so unplug that connector. Once that connector's off, you've got the main stereo. The main stereo just gives it's held on with those plastic lugs that just go into the back there. Give that just a sharp pull. No, it's not working now. Oh, and that's out. And then you can just take this out now and that out, and then check the connectors on the back. Okay, just wonder if I can just do this one-handed. So I've taken the trim panel off there. Let's see if I can get this out first time I'm seeing this on the back. And now I can work out what type of connector connection stays. So I need the A or the B. Okay, now I'm going to come back, I'm going to plug in everything and I'm going to show you how I'm doing, where everything goes. So I've already given you a video of all the different cables I'm using and so forth, so it should be pretty easy to show the rest. All right, one quick little update. I measured, when I disconnected the stereo, I had this particular cable. I wasn't sure what it was because I did have one of these, an adapter for the stereo for this. When I checked it, I believe this is the USB that's down here. So basically you can continue using the USB socket that's already here if you use the adapter that came in the box in order to plug that back into the back of the stereo. So that's quite neat. So I don't have to actually put an extension here. I can just use the existing cable and plug it in. So I'm going to do that and remove one of those other USBs that I was going to extend down to here anyway. Just a quick update there. Okay, here's the final connections. Everything's connected. I did miss one green cable actually that goes into this last port here. That is off the main wiring loom, 2-car loom. You can see it off coming off here. I did miss that one when I was explaining it, and that goes. So you've got the complete set there, and that includes the adapter here, which I've now replaced one of the other USB ports with this for the car adapter. So you can use the car USB port that's already there. Okay, so I'm now going to finally put this in and we're going to give it a test and first run, connect all the aerials up and put everything in, and hopefully we should be good to go.
Okay, I've done the test fitting and everything seems to be working fine. So I'm going to now put the car back together and do the final review of the unit.
Okay, so here's the final install. I managed to put it all in. Now this bit was a little bit difficult to stick in. I needed to remove the tree clips from the old plastic fascia and replace it onto this. You can quite easily do that. This bit was a bit sticky. You might need to bend the clips a little in order to get that in. Now that's all in. This is what it kind of looks like. This is the main screen for the unit. Let's quickly go. So you've got obviously your music here, so forth. There's no music to play. The sound quality is really good. The EQs, like I mentioned, is DSP, so you've got a lot of frequencies to play with here. You can obviously do your custom defaults and so forth. There's surround sound. You can do time lapse for bringing the sound to you, and so they've got all the different options within here, and you can set the different modes if you wanted to. Now this car unit will work really good with a sub attached, and it has also an amplifier. It has the connections for that, so it's really good in terms of fitting all those stuff. I'm only using the default speakers, and it's already made the speakers sound way better than the factory unit as well. Okay, so we'll just go back to home. Okay, so I've obviously installed here. We've got the DAB, you've got the full signal. As mentioned, I'll show a quick little to show how I put the aerial on afterwards, but I actually did a roof mounted aerial on there, and I replaced the existing aerial on the roof and put it on there. Let me just put the volume up a little bit so you can hear. You've got 4 bars, so that's all working fine. Okay, now if I come back from go home. Okay, you've got a lot of options here. It works with the car's CAN bus, so it was acting a bit weird when I first went in. I had to go to car settings, and if you go down to original, you can turn off all the show temperature, show doors open and things like that. It was acting a little bit weird, so I had to do that. Another problem that you may have is the car mic, because these are generic units that come, you may need to set it as set it up as a Ford Escort, and the way you do that is through, I think it's factory, and you put the factory code in, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I believe. And that lets you into there. So this way you can then select the model of your car, and it will reset the car to whatever spec it is. So in some cases it's it was set mine to, I think it was a Honda or something else. So you can pick the car, the brand and so forth, and make sure that's correct. And so forth. It's going to come out of that menu. You've obviously got key panels. You can you can adjust the colors on there. There's a lot of different options within here. Key panels. So key panels is to do the learning if you need to, but because you have a CAN bus, it's already picking up the steering remote features. So up, down, up volume, down volume, left, right. So it'll, whatever app you're in, it'll do that. It'll do that. So you can also map those if you need, or you can't map those if you I'm not sure if you can map those, but you can change the CAN bus configuration onto key maps in order to do that. Now channel balance configuration, key updates. What else is there important on this menu that you need to? You can set the logo if you want to put a custom one. I've just left the Android one as it is. There may be more options within there, your unit, to pick different logos depending. Like I said, I think this car was configured initially for a Nissan when I bought this unit. Okay, you can turn off what you don't want and you're not using, and so forth. In here I've got the reverse camera on. Obviously if you've got TV mode and things, this will be where you set those. If you turn these off, they shouldn't come back on the CAN bus, on the mode button. Okay, so there's more features. That's your standard Android features that you could do. Go back into here. Okay, what else is there? So reversing, you can set what you want the reverse, if you've got reverse radar connected, and some of the other system functions you can use in here if you have them enabled. I don't know, I don't have reverse sensors on this camera car, so I wouldn't be able to tell, but I think it works through the CAN bus in terms of that. Come out of this. Okay, so what else? You've got the reverse volume, whatever volume level you want to put it at to when it's in reverse mode. Like I said, I've attached a reverse camera to this, so if you put that in there, it has gone. I turn the trajectory lines just to this, just to get a distance to understand it, but it's pretty good. Okay, the screen is actually very big in the car. I'm leaning back now for my driving position. I can't really touch it, but the volume buttons work, the major features work here. Now the mode button here, I don't believe you can customize this, but you can just be able to, it'll go through the standard ones that it has, which is not ideal, because it would be better if you could swap between custom apps if you needed, like the Carplay, which I'll show you in a minute. Oh, no, Navi, come out, music, video, radio. Okay, so this is our standard radio, FM radio. Again, I bought an antenna on the roof that does both the GPS, DAB and FM, so I've connected them all, so I've got pretty good reception on everything that's required there. It has RDS stations, so it should pick up stations as required. I've just turned the volume down because I'll get done for copyright otherwise. Okay, so going back again, you has a SIM card in there, so there's a SIM card option which you can add a 4G SIM card, so you can run the whole thing independently, or you can tether it to your Wi-Fi and use the inbuilt naps. Now, one thing you want to do is the TP link is, this is your CarPlay functionality, and when you go into this, it'll connect automatically to your CarPlay if it's connected. Now I've got my friend's CarPlay attached, and as you can see, it's all working here fine. The volume works. You can change track, and it shouldn't be a problem either, right? I believe actually it's changing track on the other one, but you can set up the system in order to I believe to do the CarPlay as well, to change tracks on the CarPlay if you are playing the CarPlay. Let's put Tupac's greatest hits on. Yeah, as you can see, it's got Mysterious Girl on there. This is not my playlist, by the way. A bit weird.
And that's my mate over there. He's taking a video of me that I fitted it for. So as you can see, you can just do everything. I'm all just swapping them from here. Yeah, and then you can have the volume up and so forth. Okay, now you should be able to set some of those features up for yourself for the CAN keys, if possible. There is an option, I believe. I think I didn't go through it, but I will get back to you if there's a separate video. Now, what I would like to do is there is a way of using Tasker and adding an additional app, so you can customize the apps this mode button works for, because I would want the mode button to work only for basically DAB, FM, and my CarPlay, right? Mainly, I don't need to use AV or any other features that are kind of present on the unit. Okay, so I will show a video on how to do that at a later stage, and how that can be done. Okay, you've got your Bluetooth here. Obviously, you can pair your phones and so forth. Put that down. Okay, so that should be all that is there. Okay, you can obviously do screen splitting and things like that as well on here. I'm not really using those features, as so forth. So if you've got any questions, let me know. There's obviously the main menu there for brightness. I have got it on adaptive brightness actually, so when the car lights come on, the car will itself, it will dim the unit itself. All right, now one thing to note, there was a system update available for me. So within system, you can go to system update, connect yourself to the internet online and see if there's an update available. Same for the MCU upgrade if there was one. Okay, so I think we've gone through all the major features. If there's anything other you want to see, let me know. Okay, here's some extra footage. I wasn't going to include it in the video, but let's see if it's useful. Instead of using for the DAB aerial, instead of using the glass mounted one, I'm putting a proper one in. I'll put the link in the description. As you can see there, it's pretty easy on this Fiesta, which is, I think it's Mark 7. The original one was through this hole. I unscrewed it. You can get it through the dome light. Just pop the dome light out here, which is kind of connected at the back, and then there's 2 clips at the front. So from the back first. Once you're in there, you will need to just unscrew the original one, which I've just stuck with a bit of tape next to it to stop it rattling round from inside. And you will have to increase the hole size in order to bring the wires in, and then it's just pretty much threading the wires through. In order to thread the wires through, for some reason the manufacturer, because this has both FM, power, DAB and GPS in one aerial mounting, this bit is massive for some reason. So what I would suggest is use your little plastic pry tool and pry this open, and just then leave the circuit board and gently then feed it through the hole before you go do anything else. Okay, so that's just a quick extra. I'm not going to show the full installation video. Once you do that, just goes across down here, down the pillar, and then you can just route it all the way through into there. So I've taken off the side here. You can get a little bit of access. There's no airbag in this car, so it's pretty much easy to pull off. If your one has an airbag, disconnect the battery first for safety. Don't want that going off in your face, and then it's just literally yanking that off, which is over there. So that's a little bit of extra footage for you. All right, guys, like and subscribe if you want. Leave any comments, and I'll try and answer them as much as I can. See you later. Bye.